Alright, so as I mentioned the other day, I had this silicone that I got for free. Now this is meant to be sprayed out of some kind of device that I don't have. So I'm going to empty this silicone into some cups and A and B half and just see what it's like. I, again, don't know the consistency of this or anything. I initially was just going to cut the top off and try to carefully empty it, but I think that's going to be a bad idea. So I decided to start cutting these apart because they're held together with just a little plastic bit at the top and the bottom. And I started to cut this and I was like, I should probably videotape this. This is, you know, actually almost cut all the way through that, so it just already went through. So yeah, I'm going to separate these out and then I'm going to open them after I separate them, the two halves. That will, this is a really awkward angle to do this. Let me see if I can get a better angle here. Trying to make sure that I'm not cutting into the tubes as I do this. So far, so good. Ignore that. I'm clumsy. And look at that. I got them apart. And it did not break any seals. I want to make sure I get all this plastic shaving stuff out of the way. Guess we could cut one of these open and see what comes out. Got a cup ready to go here. Hear my Skype going off over there around the corner. This is not the cutter I should be using for this, but I put all my stuff in my toolbox and I put it in my car yesterday, so some of my tools are not available. I opened it. Alright. So now we find out if I can actually push this stuff. Oh, there it goes. I hear it moving. It's pretty thick, but it's not terrible. It's not as thick as I was expecting it might be, but it's thicker than I usually pour. But maybe the other side has a different viscosity. I have a feeling that they're actually probably similar viscosity, so that it makes it easy to spray. Oh, there it goes. So I'm going to continue to empty these out, get them together, and I'll probably just put a cover on these and come back in a little while and then mix up a batch and just start using it. I'll probably do these GoPro mounts. I'm going to go ahead and get these arranged, and then I'll show you how I'm setting it up. It's going to be really, really straightforward, and then we'll pour a batch here. So this silicone is distributed by a company called Wicker. Is that right? Whacker. Sorry, Whacker. I suck at this. Whacker. It's called Elasticoil. Is the type of silicone that I'm using here. Here we go. There's the two halves of that. Here's the orange goo. You see the viscosity here. It's decent. So I'm gonna get these covered up so they don't get anything gross in them while I'm working, and then come back to these in a little bit with some parts to mold. So it's way later in the day. It's now 11:20 at night. I think I started the last few clips of this video, I don't know, 8 o'clock this morning or something. So it's been all day. I've been busy. So I'm trying to get this done before bed. I have separated out the amount of that silicone that I'll need, and the rest is in these two cups here. I may, if it works, the silicone might not even work right, but if it works, then I will mold a few more things. So I've glued all of these GoPro mounts to an old CD case. I'm just gonna put a cup around here like this. Can you guys see this okay? Let's tilt this down just a little bit. I'm just gonna hot glue this on. I swear this hot glue gun has been plugged in since this morning. So let's look here, make sure that it's as centered as I can get it. I'll just tack this in place. it's kind of handy having this clear CD cover because I can make sure the spacing of the cup is relatively even. Doesn't have to be perfect, but the better you get it, the better it'll be. So here we go. A little bit of glue on each side just to hold it for a few minutes. That looks even enough. So we got that. I need another glue stick from over here. Glue stick time. So I will glue down the cup. Yay, super fun. Again, I don't even know if the silicone's going to be any good because it's been sitting for such a long time. And just since this morning when I pumped all of that stuff into these cups, the this lighter colored portion has like thickened up a little bit. So I wonder if it had some kind of maybe like a solvent in it or something just to thin it, so that when you spray it through the sprayers, because I think it's made to be sprayed on vertical surfaces and it's supposed to not sag too much, and maybe there's some ingredient in there that evaporates a little bit so that it'll thicken after it's sprayed. I don't know exactly, but it is slightly thicker than it was this morning. That's all I know. Alright, I think this is enough hot glue around this cup, but I'm going to just keep going here just to be on the safe side. I don't want to leak. Yeah, I totally forgot this hot glue gun was plugged in, and all day long. I went to plug it in just now, and it's still plugged in. Super safe. Not a fire hazard. Now these hot glue guns, this kind doesn't get very hot, but it's probably fine. Check the bottom, make sure I don't have any weird thin spots. Looks like that's going to work. So I got this, and I also have that little sculpture. I went ahead and glued that earlier today. So that's that. Now we have our silicone. So having these cups here. So here it goes. It is mixing. So basically I'm going to work in one cup and then transfer it back and forth a few times to make sure it's as mixed as I can get it. Scrape the sides real good. And this is a little bit thicker than that Platinum Cure Smooth On stuff that I use, which is called Mold Star 30. I really like that stuff. It's very low viscosity. It doesn't get so many bubbles. It's easy to pour. This stuff is definitely going to be a little thicker. May have a few bubbles, but I don't think it's a big deal with these things. Now, if these molds work, then I will use this to make the molds of those little heads, and I've got a couple small 3PO parts that I want to mold that this stuff will probably be fine for. And I've got maybe like half of this left. Now, one thing with this stuff is it's kind of hard to tell if it's mixed because it doesn't have any kind of a color change or anything. Whereas with the Mold Max 30, that pink stuff that I have, like this silicone, you know, it's a white silicone and then a pink hardener, and it turns, a red hardener, so it turns pink when it's mixed. You can see if there's any stripes or thin spots or anything. So I guess if I pour this back and forth a few times, well, I can see it's really kind of gummy. I'm sure this is not mixed as well as I want quite yet, so stir it a little more. I have no idea what the pot life of this is either, so this might kick off before I'm ready. We'll find out. It looks like it's already thickening up a little bit. So I'm gonna pour this now. This is not my typical mix time. I would generally mix this about probably 3 times as long. It looks like a slug. Look at that. So yeah, this is definitely thickening very quickly. Well, worst case scenario, it doesn't quite work, and then no big deal. Wow, it's turning into it's like a melted gummy bear right now. Oof, there it goes. Wow. Yeah, this thing is, I think it's already starting to kick off. Well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I may actually just pour this whole batch into this cup and hope for the best. I can already see that it's almost too thick. It might not work. You can see a couple really big bubbles right on the surface there. So this might be a total fail. But we'll find out in the morning. So this little mold is not getting done right now. I'll do that another time. And I'm going to basically tap this down. Hopefully I can get this stuff in there enough. But it is definitely, it's already thickened up a lot. So I have a feeling this mold is going to have a lot of bubbles. Try to just break some of these bubbles free, but there are some huge bubbles down in here that are fighting to come out. So this one may be bust, which is okay. It's no big loss. Like I said, this was a free batch of silicone. Could be way worse. And also, I don't want to dislodge any of these little pieces that I've got in here. So, it is what it is. I'm going to let this sit and hopefully it'll be somewhat usable, even if it's not perfect. It might work. It might still work. We'll see. It is definitely not leveling out though. Like I said, the stuff is meant to go through a sprayer, so you spray it on a surface and it's made to stick there. So it's definitely sort of thick. You can see there, it doesn't even, just barely moves when I tilt it. So this may be cured in an hour or so. So I'm gonna let it sit and then I'll be back in a little bit to demold it and we'll see how it did. My guess is that it's going to have some pretty nasty bubbles, but it'll still do the trick for these guys. These don't have to be pretty, they just need to work. So see you guys in a little bit. All right, it is now 6:30 in the morning and I think this stuff is cured enough to demold. Actually feels pretty solid. Based on how quickly it was setting last night, I'm guessing it was pretty much ready to demold within an hour or so, but it's been, I don't know, a few hours since then. 3.5, 4 hours since my last section of this video. So let's take this thing out of here. You can see all the GoPro mounts glued underneath, and there are definitely some bubbles in this stuff. Like I said, it doesn't really matter with this. These are just for me to use on my GoPro, so if there's some bubbles or little things, it's no problem. So I'm going to tear this cup off of here. So I can get this sucker to release. Hot glue sticks really well to these CD holders. I've been utilizing old CD holders for about 2 years now for making molds because they grip so damn well. Look at that. So it's kind of an interesting feel. I feel like because it was setting so quickly, I didn't mix it as long as I normally would. I usually stir this stuff for over a minute whenever I work with silicone. And it also may be because the silicone's old, but it doesn't quite feel like it has the same springiness that I'm used to with like this silicone here. It's very springs right back to its original shape, and this does, but it's kind of like a gummy consistency, and maybe I didn't mix it long enough, or maybe it's not quite set all the way, which might be bad. So it feels demoldable. So I'm watching this here. Just kind of, it goes back into shape, but just not as quickly as I think it should. So anyway, I'm gonna break these things loose. Makes me wonder if I should leave it in here for a few more hours. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna leave this in a cup for about a couple more hours. Maybe I'll completely demold these at noon when I get my lunch. So it's only been about, I don't know, an hour here since the last video, but I'm opening a huge file, so it's a good opportunity for me to do this really quick. And I don't know, it's busy today, so I don't know what my lunch break's gonna look like. I'm gonna put some powder on this. It's not sticky like it's uncured, it just has this, like silicone in general, kind of has like a sort of a slight tacky feel. So I'm just go ahead and put a little bit of powder on the surface just so that it doesn't grab. Should probably trim this. You can see, usually, like I said, usually the molds will flatten out, the silicone will become level, but this is totally lumpy because the stuff was kicking when I poured it. So there's flat bottom silicone poured this way. This one, total mess. This isn't my usual silicone, guys. Just remember that. This is just an experiment, so if this comes out, awesome. If it doesn't, no big deal. Didn't really lose anything. So see if I can get these little GoPro keys to loosen up here. And again, the plan for this is to just buy the screws in bulk, just a whole bunch of them, and then just keep them in the mold. And when I'm pouring other when I'm pouring other resin castings, I will just pour the resin right in over the screw, and then when I pop it out, it'll have the screw already inserted into the little thumb screw here, and that'll make it easy. And I got a comment about being able to buy these on eBay, and that's awesome. I just never remember. And when it's something like this, I'm always making stuff out of resins, so I'll have like 900 of these things before I know it. And this is probably about a nickel's worth of resin to make these, and then probably, you know, maybe 10 cents per bolt. So they come out to be very cheap when they're done. I'm just trying to gently loosen these up. I feel like I need to trim this bottom off, but of course I don't have any scissors over here. There's one. Actually, I'm gonna put some powder on the top here and work it down inside, just because why not, right? This is totally exciting for you guys, I'm sure. Feels like I should just be able to grab this and pull it out of here. Come on. Ugh. I don't know how strong this silicone is either. I haven't given it any kind of tear strength test here, but like this Mold Max 30 that I used for a long time is, I've had really good luck with that stuff. It's held up great. And I'm trying to think what else. I've used some BJB silicones and they work fine as well. They're honestly, the BJB silicones are the first ones I've been able to use until they kind of went bad. I've got a couple pieces from the Sandcrawler. Now granted, I took a lot of castings out of them, and I worked those molds really hard for like 2 months straight. So, you know, it's typical they're gonna fail at some point, but I feel like I've worked some of these, like this mold I've had since, I don't know when I made that video, but I've had this mold for probably, I don't know, 3 years, and I use it pretty regularly, and it's literally nothing has gone wrong with it at all. It's a relatively easy shape, so when I demold it, there's not any crazy undercuts or anything to get messed up, but you know, it works nice. And like I said in the last video about the keys, like this one had those terrible keys, those long grooves that suck really bad, and this one was almost direct response after that one. I made tons of crazy keys, and it's overkill, it looks nuts, but it keys together really, really, really nice. I never have an offset issue with that mold ever, which is good. So all right, I have just a few minutes left of video here. There's the mold, all demolded. There are a couple little bubbles in there, but none of them are really in important places, so this is going to work totally fine for what I'm using it for. Good experiment. I do have a little bit of the silicone left, so I got to find other things that are not important things that I need to mold. I actually have a couple parts that I think I need to make copies of that this would be really good for. They're really, really simple shapes, and they're not important molds that I need to sell to people. Just parts for myself. So there it is. I don't know when I'm going to make the copies out of here, but when I do, I'll make a video on that so you guys can see them. It'll be a refresher. I am just going to keep this in one of these cups to make sure it stays nice and level when I pour. And obviously it sits right in there, no problem. I'll probably trim off a little layer of silicone on the bottom just so that it's a little easier to work with. But this should help keep its, this cup should help it keep its shape better. So that's in there. Back to work. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I'll be back with something more exciting real soon. See you soon.